All right, y'all. Shalom, 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 shalom. So I'm back. Mishpachah, and it's for an important reason. There's a Torah discussion that I need to get into, that I need to do. So I'm gonna bring it out here live for y'all who can hang out with me while I go through this. Please do. If not, just catch the replay. But I would love for y'all to hang out here live with me as I go through this. So basically, y'all, this is based off of Torah portion BESHALACH that I'm about to cover right now. Torah portion BESHALACH, it covered Exodus chapter 13 through verse 17. Specifically, it was the book of Exodus or Shemot. Technically, it would be Exodus or Shemot chapter 13, 7th verse 17 is where it started, and it goes all the way through Exodus chapter 17 verse 16. So keep in mind that's what this discussion is based off of. Hallelujah. Let's go ahead and get in. I'm going to open up with prayer. Yahuwah, I thank you so much, O Most High, for the things that you reveal to your people, for all that you do for us every day. I want to say Todah Rabbah, Yahuwah, for your blessings, your grace, and your mercy. Todah Rabbah for your Torah. Todah for your Torah. Todah for your commandments which sanctify us and bless us when we're obedient to them. Todah Rabbah for the things you reveal to your servant, to your children, for we are your sons, O Abba. Todah Rabbah for these things that you revealed to me, Adonai. I pray, oh Yahuwah, that you give everyone who's listening to this the eyes to see and ears to hear what you want to convey to them. I pray for a new understanding, O Most High, a new mindset, O Most High, may be brought out of this. Yahuwah, I pray, O Most High, that it be your words and not mine. That you dwell inside of me, Yahusha. Dwell inside, fill me with your Ruach HaKodesh, so that one comes out be your words and not mine. May everything that you want to be conveyed to the Mishpachah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Amen. All right, y'all, and just a summary of the Torah portion. We covered this Torah portion, not this past Shabbat, but we covered this Torah portion the Shabbat before this past Shabbat. It starts off Exodus 13. It goes into where they talk about the pillar of cloud and fire that led the Israelites. The Israelites were fresh out of Egypt, and they were led by Yahuwah. Yahuwah led the whole camp of Israel out of Egypt with a pillar of fire by night and cloud by day. And so they had divine guidance when they left Egypt. It goes into when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea, as you see here on this slide here, showing a picture of the sea being split. So this Torah portion in chapter 14, it goes into when they crossed the Red Sea. It also gets into when the Egyptians tried to follow them. And what happened when the Egyptians tried to follow them? They were killed. They drowned. Then what we saw a big praise and worship session happen after that, right? It was a great victory, a great celebration where Moses' sister Miriam, she went all the way in and said she had the timbrel and she got in, she led worship. That's in chapter 15. That's when you hear the Song of Miriam, which is a very famous song in Israel. A lot of us sing that. Mika Mocha. It's not, that's not the whole Song of Miriam, but that's actually just one part of it. But maybe some of y'all might have heard that. Mika Mocha, etc. It also goes into now that after they crossed the Red Sea, chapter 15 gets into the bitter water. The Israelites were murmuring. They put the wood in the water and made it sweet. Then in chapter 16 goes into the manna. Exodus chapter 16 goes into the manna. When the manna came from heaven, the Most High provided Israel with, I'm not going to say unlimited, but he provided Israel with food every day. Because they were in the middle of the desert. They were in the middle of the desert where there was no food. So Yahuwah miraculously provided for them. And then he miraculously provided water from them. You'll see that in chapter 17 when water came out the rock. And then that's when in verse 8, that's when Amalek attacked Israel. So that's just a short summary of the Torah portion. So what I'm going to focus on, y'all, is that, because this is prophetic, what I'm going to focus on is something that's prophetic. And it's about the Great Reset. The Great Reset. So much of this Torah portion I submit to you is actually highlighting a great reset that happened on the earth, where it was the end of one age and the start of a new age. It was a new heaven and a new earth in a sense that the Most High brought forth on the earth during this time of the Exodus. When Israel was led out of Egypt, y'all, this was not just a physical thing. This wasn't just about bringing people out of captivity, which that was part of it. But remember, the Most High didn't just judge Egypt, he judged the Elohim of Egypt as well. Why did he do that? He went to war against the Elohim of Egypt, y'all. Because I think this is a lot deeper than what many of us realize. And I'm going to show y'all by looking at the creation story. We're going to look at the creation story. We're going to look at the creation story. And what I'm going to, why am I looking at the creation story? Because in the creation story, that was the first great reset that we have recorded in the scriptures. When I used to read the creation story, I used to believe that the creation story was the account of the beginning of everything. I'm going to bring forth a different perspective than that. It mentions about the beginning, but the creation week was not per se the beginning of everything. It was a reset. It was the start of a new heaven and a new earth. The Most High came and brought forth and established something new on the earth. And that's what gave us the creation week. Let's take a look at it, y'all. Let's take a look at it. So what I'm going to be doing is, what I'm telling y'all is that if the creation week in Genesis 1 was a great reset, in Exodus, the Exodus story, referring to this specific Torah portion between Exodus 13 and 17, was highlighting a great reset as well, then we should see the creation week in the Exodus story. We should see the entire day 1 through 7 in the Exodus story. In chronological order, we should see that. And I submit to you, it is there, y'all. It is absolutely there. Because the Most High moves in order, and he moves in a specific way to where those who have eyes to see can see it. Not only did this happen in the Exodus story, the creation week is in the Exodus story. The creation week is in every time when Yahuwah did a great reset. The creation story is also in the Noah story, because do you know that in the story of Noah, that was a great reset as well? That's when Yahuwah reset everything again during the flood story with Noah. He did. So the Exodus story is really the third time in the scriptures, actually, when he did a great reset. And when you read it, and it's going to happen in the future, that's why it's important for us to look at this. Because when you read Revelation, Yahuwah is going to do it again. He said, I'm going to make a new heaven and a new earth. He's going to destroy everything again and start over with Israel. All right, y'all, let's take a look. Now it's time to prove this with scripture, okay? So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to look at the Exodus story, and I'm going to show you how it's part of it's parallel to the creation week in a sense, as far as a great reset. So let's look at Genesis chapter 1. And what we're going to do is look at day 1. So what I want us to do is to look at Genesis chapter 1. I want everybody to go to Genesis chapter 1. And we are going to go through verses, I'm starting with 1 and I'm going to read through 4, okay? Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Let me see if I can do this. I'll get my scriptures out for y'all. There we go. There we go. So now y'all can see my screen. Shout out to Shemriah showing me the e-sword. All right. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. It says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. So that was the beginning right here. That was the beginning. But something happened. Something happened between verse 1 and verse 2, because look what the next verse says. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. So I know in English it says that the earth was without form and void. But it means more than that. So in Hebrew, that's tohu wabohu. In Hebrew, that's tohu wabohu. That actually means chaos, disorder. It's a little more than just without form and void. As a matter of fact, let's look at what, there's only one other place in the scriptures where you see tohu wabohu being mentioned together, and that's in the book of Jeremiah. Cadmiel, shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom. I'll pray to the Most High. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 23. Let's see. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 23, it says, I beheld the earth, and indeed it was without form and void. Tohu wabohu. This is the only other place in the scriptures where tohu wabohu is mentioned together in this way. And look how it's mentioned in the context in Jeremiah 4:23. I beheld the earth, and indeed it was without form and void, and the heavens, they had no light. I beheld the mountains, and indeed they trembled, and all the hills moved back and forth. I beheld, and indeed there was no man, and all the birds of the heavens had fled. I beheld, and indeed the fruitful land was a wilderness, and all its cities were broken down at the presence of Yahuwah by his fierce anger. There you go right there. So as you see, this ain't nothing, just the Most High the Most High is not an author of confusion. So between verse 1, which was the real beginning, Bereshit, in the beginning, between verse 1 and verse 2, something happened that caused the earth to be in chaos and disorder. Tohu wabohu. It could have been the Most High judged the earth. When you look at when the Most High does great resets, many times that's the case. It is the Most High that made tohu wabohu for one reason or another. No one knows for sure what happened, but for some reason the earth right now is just it's in destruction and chaos and disorder right now. It's without form and void. And it says darkness was on the face of the deep. So there was no land on the earth in the beginning at this point in time. At this point in time, there was no land, it was all water. Darkness was on the face of the deep. So basically, at this time, the marine kingdom had dominion over the earth at this time. Darkness had dominion over the earth at this time. But something changed, something happened. TC, shalom, 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 shalom. Something happened here. It says, and the spirit of Elohim, or the Ruach of Elohim, that's the Ruach HaKodesh. This is the first time in the scriptures where the Ruach is mentioned. The Ruach HaKodesh was mentioned, the Ruach of Elohim, or in English is God. And the Ruach of Elohim was hovering over the face of the waters. So when it's saying, so the first time that the Ruach is mentioned in the scriptures, notice that it's hovering. That's a big deal, because that word in Hebrew actually gives the connotation of fluttering like bird wings, like a very rapid fluttering like bird wings over the face of the waters. So it's interesting because a dove is symbolic of the Ruach HaKodesh, isn't it? Y'all remember in the Brit Hadashah where it says that the Ruach came on Yahusha, it descended like a dove? Now you see why you see that language. That comes all the way back to the beginning. that the Ruach, when it was first mentioned in the scriptures, is mentioned as hovering, and the connotation is like a bird fluttering its wings. So anyway, it's over the face of the water. Remember, the darkness had dominion over the earth at this time. Remember, darkness had dominion over the earth at this time. But the Ruach of Elua was hovering. Now the Ruach came now. And let's see what the Ruach did. Elua said, let there be light. And there was light. And he did more than that. He said, and Elua saw the light that it was told. And Elua divided the light from what? The darkness. What darkness is he talking about? See, we think in English that it's just like, oh, the absence of light. No, man, this is different, y'all. This is deep. This is a warfare going on. This is the Most High basically going in against the marine kingdom. He divided the light from the darkness. What darkness? The darkness that was just mentioned in verse 2. It says darkness was on the face of the deep. So the Most High came in and said, let there be light, and he made a distinction. A distinction was made is what happened here, where he divided the light from the darkness. The light is Yahusha, y'all. The light is Yahusha. Real quick, I'm going to turn to Revelation, chapter 21. The light is not talking, this is not talking about the sun yet. Cadmiel, you right on it. I'm gonna go there actually. I'm gonna go there in a little bit. You right on it about the dove and the ark. That's actually, you're saying something right there. Because what happened? Wasn't the dove fluttering over the waters? We're gonna go there though. I don't want to get that out yet. So but in Revelation chapter 21, when you look at verse 23, this is not the sun. When Yahuwah said, let there be light, the sun was not created until day 4. Remember that. This is something else happening here. This is Elua going in against darkness, going to war against darkness. Because when the light shines, what happens to the darkness? The darkness flees. The darkness flees. And this is going to happen again. That's why it's important for us to understand this. Revelation 21:23, the city. So this is about the New Jerusalem. Is the if y'all see this, when it starts with verse 9, I'm going to just read verse 1 so y'all know the context. Revelation 21, verse 1. Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. See, this was a great reset that was happening. That's going to happen. This is in Revelation. This is at the end. I submit this can come very soon, y'all. Look what else it says. Also, there was no more sea. Marine kingdom is gone. That's why it says that there. So I just want to give y'all the context of this chapter. Now skip down to verse 23, and it's going into the attributes of the New Jerusalem. It says the city had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of Elua illuminated it. The Lamb is its light. Y'all, I hope y'all see this. So what was the light? Yahusha. Who's the Lamb? That's Yahusha, right? Y'all, Yahuwah declares the end from where? The beginning. What is the first book of the Bible called? It's not called Genesis, is it? It's called Bereshit. What does that mean? In the beginning. Yahuwah declares the end from the beginning, from Bereshit, in a sense. So if you go to Bereshit, when he said, let there be light, and we know that that light ain't the sun, because the sun isn't created till later, then what was that light? That light was probably Yahusha, wasn't it? That's the Yahusha. All right, so verse 5. No, let's keep going. Verse 4. And Elua saw the light that it was good. And Elua divided the light from the darkness. A distinction was made. Now, Elua called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the boker, or Areb and the boker, were the first day. That's Yom Echad. Yom Echad. All right, now we on the first day. Yom Echad. All right. So, in day 1, what we saw was chaos. Yahuwah saw chaos, tohu vabohu. That was When he saw the earth was without form and void, it was tohu wabohu. In other words, it was in chaos and disorder, and he brought order to it. He brought order to earth. That's what happened on day one. You also saw unity, and that Echad happened. That's why it's called Yom Echad in Hebrew. Day one. Yom Echad. It's not really called Yom Rishon here. Rishon is the technical Hebrew word for like first. But no, Yahuwah called it Yom Echad, which also means one, but in a different sense. One more like unity. It means more like one, like in unity. Like when it says for a marriage, when it says in the Adam and Eve story that the two shall become one, that's Echad. That's not like the number one. No, the two will be in unity. What do we say when we say the Shema? We say Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad. Right. That's different than just the number one. It's a connotation of unity. We are supposed to be in Echad with each other as Mishpachah, as Israel, right? We're supposed to be in unity, unify, in Echad, as one. But in a sense of unity, we're not literally one, we're multiple people, right? But we're supposed to be multiple people in Echad as one body. We're supposed to be in Echad with Yahusha, because we are the bride of Yahusha. And why? And isn't the bride and the bridegroom supposed to be one? Aren't the two supposed to come together and be one? We're supposed to be in Echad with Yahusha as well. Yom Echad. So now what we want to do, and what we also saw in day one, we saw the light separated from darkness. That's what we saw in day one. We saw the light separated from darkness. So what we also want to do is we want to see if we can find this in the Exodus story now. We want to see if we can see day one in the Exodus story to see if the Most High, if the Exodus story is really a new creation story, because a new creation, a new reset that happened at that time. So let's leave. Let's go to Exodus chapter 13, verse 18. I'll pull it up, y'all, so y'all can read from the screen. Exodus chapter 13, verse 18. So Eluah led the people around by way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up. So this is the context of Exodus 13. In Exodus 13, Yahuwah just led the Israelites out of Egypt. But what happens is, and then the cloud and the fire leads Israel. The Most High said that I'm not going to lead them by the way. I think it was the Philistines, because they might be scared and try to run back to Mitzrayim, try to run back to Egypt. So I'm going to lead them this other way. So Yahuwah's leading them right now. They're just getting out of Egypt. Yahuwah also hardens the heart of Pharaoh, which causes Pharaoh to be like, why did we just let them go? Now Pharaoh and the whole entire military of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, is going after the Israelites, y'all. And the whole time Yahuwah is leading Israel to the Red Sea, to where it looks like they're stuck. They don't have anywhere to turn. They don't have anywhere to go. So this is the context of this passage. So they're going towards the Red Sea, and right now Pharaoh is going after them, probably to just destroy them now, because he's bringing a whole army of Egypt. He probably ain't going to try to just get them back now. He's probably going to just kill them. So now this is on a whole nother level. And the reason why we know this is because Pharaoh literally brought the whole Egyptian military with him. He wasn't coming for no hugs. So now the Egyptians were, the Israelites, they were worried. They even murmured. They're like, man, did you bring us out here, all the way out here? Is it because there wasn't enough, there are no more graves in Egypt? That's what they said. Is it because there were no more graves in Egypt that you sent us all the way out here in the desert, in the wilderness to die? Maisha brought this out. It was really a good point. Why were there no more graves in Egypt? This is a side note. Why were there no more graves in Egypt? The Most High killed so many people. He killed so many Egyptians that there were literally no more graves in Egypt, y'all. I want y'all to understand this because this is the stuff that is coming. This is prophecy. Yahuwah declares the end from the beginning. This is not something that just happened. This is something that's going to happen. This is prophecy we're reading. There were no more graves in all of Egypt, y'all. So it caused the Israelites to be like, man, did y'all send us way out here just because so that we can get killed out here? Because since there were no more graves in Egypt. Nevertheless, we're going to keep reading though. Let's look at verse 18. So this is before they started doing that murmuring. They're going and they're being led. So verse 18. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm gonna try to get through this as fast as possible. So Eluah led the people around by way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. Do y'all see this? Let me read this again. And the children of Israel went up in orderly ranks out of the land of Egypt. That means they're in order, doesn't it? Do y'all remember what I said about day one? That was the day Yahuwah brought order to chaos. That was the day Yahuwah brought order to chaos. Danielle, shalom, 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 shalom. Ryan, shalom, shalom. How can two walk together unless they agree? Exactly. We have to be on one accord to reach our final destination. Exactly. And you know what? When Israel came out of Egypt, they were on one accord. They were orderly. Ryan said, Yahusha answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. Man, Ryan, you right on it, Doc. I'm gonna actually go there because you're going into another aspect, and I'm gonna get into when I get to day 4. So keep that thought, because you literally right, you're right there where I was going as well. So nevertheless, they were in order now. Was Israel orderly people when they were in captivity in Egypt? That's what I want to ask y'all. Was Egypt an orderly people when they were in captivity in Egypt? And the answer is no. I submit that they were tohu wabohu while they was in Egypt. They were not unified. They were not in their car. A matter of fact, when Moshe was in Egypt, what did Moshe find? Didn't he find them fighting each other? Didn't he find them fighting each other and was like, man, why y'all fighting each other? And then they told him, man, what you just mad? You tripping because you gonna do us like you did that Egyptian? Remember, Moshe ran after they said that. Why did he run? Because he knew they was gonna tell on him. I submit to y'all. He knew they was gonna tell on him. That's showing that they had no unity in Egypt. They had no unity. It's just like us in this captivity here. What do y'all see how we be doing in this captivity here? What kind of unity have you seen here in the last 400 years? Especially in the last 30 years. Oh man. I submit that was us in Egypt, y'all. So, but something changed that now the Most High took that disorder and he turned it into order. You see that in verse 18, that they came out in orderly ranks. So in Hebrew, that literally means they were armed. They came out armed, but it gives the connotation that they were in order. That's why the English translated it that way. All right, that's one aspect. So we saw here that Yahuwah turned something from that was in disorder and made it orderly. That's day 1. All right, now what I want us to do also, I want us to go to, I want us to look at also Exodus chapter 14 now. Now let's go to chapter 14. Notice I'm in order. I'm not running all around the place. I'm in order in this Torah portion. We started with verse 13, verse 18, where I saw order. And now I'm going to chapter 14. We're going to look at verse 19 through 20. Verse 19 through 20. All right. So I'm going to pull the script up too so y'all can just read it from the screen. Verse 19 through 20. Exodus chapter 14, verse 19 through 20. All right. And the Malach of Alua, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. So now Egypt is pursuing. The context is Egypt is going after Israel and they caught up to him. But the Most High did some stuff to protect Israel. So the angel of Alua, or a Malach of Alua, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So you see, because Egypt was going after them and Israel was stuck at the water. So the Most High did this to protect them. But look at what the Most High did. Y'all really pay attention to this and think about day one when I'm reading this. Think about day one, okay? In the creation story, verse 20. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness. Remember darkness in Genesis 1? To the one. Who was the darkness to? It was darkness to the one. Who was it to? I submit that was to Egypt. And it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night. Y'all, what did the Most High do? Don't we see that light was separated from darkness here? Don't we see that Yahuwah separated from the light from the darkness here? Y'all, that's screaming day one. That's screaming a creation story here. That's what Yahuwah is doing. Y'all got to think about this, fam. Y'all got to think about this. If Yahuwah wanted to, he could have just pulled Israel up out of Egypt. He didn't do that, did he? He decided to do a whole lot of specific things in the process of redeeming Israel out of Egypt. And the Most High don't just do things just because, does he? There's a reason behind everything that he does. And I submit this is a great reset happening. This is the creation story happening here. It's a new heaven and a new earth being established right now. All right, so now we're going to go to day 2, okay? We're going to go to day 2. Let's do that. Day 2, Yom Shani. All right, so what I want us to do is to go to Genesis 1, and we're going to read about day 2. That's verses 7 through 8. So we're going back to the creation story in Genesis 1. We're going to look at verse 7 through 8. Thus, Alua made the firmament. I think that's the word rakia in Hebrew, but I don't remember 100%. Thus, Alua made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament and from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. So during day 2, it's interesting. Day 2, Yahuwah just made a division. That's all he did in day 2. Because it says, and Alua called the firmament heaven, and so the evening and morning were Yom Shani, the second day. That was it. You notice he didn't even say it was told. He didn't even say it was good. He just said it was the second day. So this wasn't good. Y'all, as a side note, division in and of itself is not told. I know many of y'all, many of us, when we got in the awakening, we just divided. We were all, yeah, set apart, set apart, set apart, set apart. Division in and of itself is not told. In and of itself. Because Yahuwah, he divides you to gather you with like minds. The reason why he divides you is to gather you with like minds. So if you just divide and just to be by yourself, that wasn't why he divided you. Now, he may divide you to set you up for you to be by yourself for a season, but it's the goal is for you to be gathered with like minds. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So testing. All right. I don't know what VAR mean, Walter. Shalom, shalom to you. But if I don't sound good, if you can't hear me, just let me know. David Dog, shalom, shalom, Mark. Shalom and blessings. All right, so let's see here. Man, I just, all right. All right, we back up and running. Okay. All right, so let's go to Genesis 1, 7 through 8. So what we saw in day 2 was that the waters were divided from the water. That's pretty much all there was to it. That's pretty much all there was to it. Division happened. So let's see. Do we see that in the Exodus story? I probably only had to bring this verse up, huh? Do we see the waters being divided in the Exodus story, y'all? Do we see Yahuwah dividing the waters? Now, let me say this. Let me say this though. In Genesis 1, the way how did he divide the waters? He did it with the firmament. He made a firmament, rakia. So the firmament, what is the firmament? The firmament is basically, in a sense, what we would call the atmosphere, kind of. It's more to it than that. You know, it's the sky, the air, where the oxygen is, where we live. That's the firmament. The Most High divided the water. So when you look up above in the sky, when it's clear skies on a sunny day, and if you look down below at the ocean, you'll notice that they're similar in color. They look similar in a sense. Why? Because there's waters above and there's waters below. There's waters above and there's waters below. And the Yahuwah separated those waters with the firmament. The firmament that we live in today, that we live and breathe in today, separating the waters above from the waters below. So he used the firmament to divide the waters from the waters. That's what in day 2, that's what he did. All right. I just wanted to establish that first before. Now we're going to look at Exodus 14. And we're going to look at verse 21. Remember, we looked at verse 18 at first. So we're not running all around the scriptures. We're going in order. We're going in order. So let's go to Genesis 14. And we're going to read verse 21. Exodus 14, verse 21. Then Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahuwah caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were what? The waters were divided, y'all. So we literally see the creation story being played out here. So this is more proof that the creation story wasn't really like a creation story. We call it that, but that was Yahuwah doing a new creation. That was Yahuwah doing a reset, just like he's doing here. So he's dividing the waters with the waters here in Exodus 14. There's so many other things the Most High could have did, huh? But he specifically divided the waters. All right. Now remember, now we're going to go into day 3. We're gonna move through this. Now remember, I said that day. I mentioned that day number 2. He said it was not told. He said in day number 2 that it was not told. He said that he just said he divided the waters on that day. But what we're going to see in day 3 is a little different. Let's look what happens. Let's look at Genesis 1 and look what happened in the creation story in day 3. We're going to read verses 9 through 10. And he said to his people, look, the people of the children of Israel are Genesis chapter 1, not Exodus chapter 1. Verses 9 through 10. Genesis chapter 1, verses 9 through 10. Then Yahuwah said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And Yahuwah called the dry land earth. And the gathering together of the waters he called seas. And Yahuwah saw that it was told. It was good. So division in and of itself is not good. But when he gathered the waters with like mind, when he gathered the waters with the waters, Then it was told. Y'all see what I'm saying? Then it was good. Gathering with like mind, then it was good. So this was day 3. This was a part of day 3. Now day 3 is a little more multifaceted. So let's keep reading. What else did he do on day 3? So first he gathered the waters together with the waters, and also he did what? He let the dry land appear. So he gathered the waters with the waters, and he also let the dry land appear. That's important. So let's look at that real quick in Exodus. Let's see how that happened in the Exodus. We know that happened in Exodus, right? Exodus 14:22. We're going to go there real quick. Exodus 14:22. Because we had just read 14, verse 21 previously. Now we're going to read verse 22. So the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea, where? On the dry land, on dry ground. And the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. Why did he say that? Why did the Torah specifically specify that the waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left? It almost seems like, man, maybe that you can just read past that and just be like, okay. I submit to y'all the reason why the Most High specifically wanted to note that detail is because what he is telling you is that this is day 3, because dry ground is appearing, and he's gathered the waters with the waters. He gathered the waters with like mind. The waters were a wall to them on their right hand and on their left. He gathered the waters with the waters, y'all. Day 3. All right, so there's more to day 3 though. Day 3 is a little multifaceted. Day 3 is a little multifaceted. So let's keep going. We're gonna go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 11 through 12. Genesis chapter 1, verse 11 through 12. It says, Then Elohim said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb that yields seed, and the fruit tree that yields fruit, according to its kind, whose seed is in itself on the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, the herb that yields seed according to its kind, and the tree that yields fruit, whose seed is in itself according to its kind. And the Lord saw that it was told. So also in day 3, let me read it. And so the evening and morning were the third day. Make sure y'all know this is day 3. So day 3, what else did we see? We saw vegetation was sprouted forth in day 3, didn't we? Vegetation sprouted forth out of dry ground. Now I already did a teaching on this, so I'm not gonna go too deep in this, but that's resurrection. When you see vegetation coming out of dry ground, that's symbolic of resurrection. That's why that happened on day 3, because day 3 is the number of resurrection. That's why Yahusha, what did he say? Just like Jonah in the belly of the well, 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be. I know I didn't say that verbatim, but isn't that what Yahusha said? 3 days and 3 nights, and I'm going to do what? Resurrect? That's Torah. See, that goes all the way back to the creation story. The Besorah is in the creation story, because on third day, that's when vegetation came out of dry ground. When you see vegetation coming out of somewhere where it's not supposed to, miraculously, that's symbolic of resurrection. When you look in, like for example, there's a verse in Isaiah where it says like all flesh is grass, it withers away, and things like that, and it's telling it basically is comparing vegetation to the frailty of life. So if vegetation is compared to the frailty of life, when vegetation wears away, then vegetation coming to life when it's not supposed to should be symbolic of what? Resurrection of life. In the book of Job, it even goes into that as well, where life of mankind is compared with vegetation. So day 3 is symbolic of resurrection. All right, but there's a lot more I can really show the scriptures and all that. I have a teaching on that, that's on here. So if anybody really wants to go more into depth in that, I can send you the link to the whole lesson on that, because it's way more to that. But we're not gonna get into that. Let's just focus on the creation story. So day 3, that's Yom Shlishi. Vegetation came out of dry ground. And so what we see, where can we see that in the Exodus story is what we want to try. We want to try to see if we can see vegetation growing where it's not supposed to. How about maybe like in the wilderness? Vegetation may be growing in the desert. Let's see. Let's try to see where. Let's go to Exodus 15, verse 27, y'all. Exodus 15, verse 27. You see how we're going in order. Last time we covered Exodus 14. Now we're going into chapter 15 now. Staying in order. 15, verse 27. Now, just for context, Israelites are out. The Most High done delivered Israel. They crossed the Red Sea. The Egyptians are done. They're gone. And now, right after that, they went days without water, and they're in the desert, y'all. And so, you know what they did? They murmured, right? That's the context of this. So now, that's where we're at. And so we're going to just read verse 27. So they're in a place without any water, and they murmured. They're like, what are we going to drink? What are we going to drink? And the Most High tested them on that. So now we get to verse 27. Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water. Isn't that the gathering of waters too? 12 wells of water. And what else, y'all? 70 palm trees. Y'all, this is in the middle of the desert. Palm trees? 70 palm trees in the middle of nowhere. So they camped there by the waters. So y'all look, this goes even further, y'all. Because when y'all think palm trees, you know, we just think palm trees because we're reading this in English. But actually, this was most likely, when you look at the Hebrew word here for palm trees, you look it up in the Strong's, actually the connotation is that they were fruit trees. They were the date palms. They were date palms. That goes back to Genesis 3. Genesis 1, the third day, that there were fruit trees that bore seed. The Most High brought forth fruit trees in day 3. These were date palms. All right, let's keep it moving. I hope y'all follow them. All right, let's keep going. Now we're going to go into day 4. We're going to get into day 4. Now, day 4 is a very interesting day. It's a very interesting day. Day 4 is when the sun, moon, and the stars were created. Day 4 is when the sun, the moon, and the stars were created. Let me pull this up. That's when the sun, moon, and stars were created. So let's see how can we work this out as far as in the Exodus story. Let's go ahead and read it in Genesis. Let's take a look. Genesis 1, we're going to read 14 through 15. Genesis 1, 14 through 15. It says, Then Elohim said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night. What else is it going to be for? And let them be for signs and seasons. Moedim, right? That's the feast days, isn't it? The appointed times. That's what the sun, moon, and stars are supposed to be for. And for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heavens. To do what? To be a light to the earth? All right, now that's going back to what Ryan Gandelman posted there. I told Ryan to hold that thought. So I'm going to go back to what he posted here. He posted, let's see, Yachanan or Yehukanan, chapter 11, verse 9. Yahusha answered, Are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of what? This world. What was the sun supposed to do? To give light to the world. To give light on the earth. Haaretz probably is the word. I don't know for sure. But that's usually the word they use for earth, but there's another word sometimes they use for earth too. I think it's like Adama or something like that. But that's what the sun, moon, and stars was for, to give light to the earth. Isn't that what Israel's supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to be a light to the nations? Let's look at a couple more scriptures. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 5. It says, "You are all sons of lights and sons of the day." That goes back to what Yahusha was saying. We are not of the night, are we? Or of darkness. That's why Yahuwah came in the creation story, and he did what? He said, "Let there be light," and he separated the light from the darkness, didn't he? And you know what? He did the same thing in the Exodus story, didn't he? When the darkness darkness had dominion over the earth in the Exodus story, y'all. Darkness had dominion over the light, didn't it? They had dominion over Israel. Israel was in captivity, and darkness had dominion over the earth during that time. And so the Most High came through during the Exodus story and said, "Let there be light." And he went to war. See, when I'm saying that darkness had dominion over the earth, I'm saying that the marine kingdom, Hasatan, had dominion over the earth. The marine kingdom had dominion over the earth, just like in Genesis 1. It happened again. By the time we got to the Exodus story, it happened again. In Genesis 1, Yahuwah created the heavens and earth, but something happened to where things went left field, and now the earth was without form and void, and darkness had dominion over the earth now. Something changed to where that happened, to where the marine kingdom had dominion over the earth. So the Most High came and wrecked shop and set order to it, like one of y'all said on here. I think that might have been Captain Yale. He set order to it. He said, "Let there be light," and went to war against that. And that's what he did in the Exodus story. Yahuwah was going to war against the Elohim of Egypt, y'all. This was a spiritual war that had physical implications to it. It had physical, what's the word I'm looking for? Physical consequences. I can't even think of the word I'm looking for, but y'all know what I'm saying. It had physical results, but it was a spiritual war. Yahuwah went to war against the marine kingdom, y'all, because the marine kingdom had dominion over the earth during the time of the Exodus. The earth was without form and void. The earth was tohu wabohu, and wickedness was over the earth. And so Yahuwah had said, "Yeah, I'm going to do something about that." And so now, why am I bringing all that up? Because Israel is the light, y'all. Israel is the sun, moon, and stars. The children of Israel is day 4. Look at Isaiah chapter 49 real quick. I know y'all probably like, man, that's a stretch, but no, look. No, y'all, I'm telling y'all. Look at Isaiah chapter 49, verse 6. I'll start with verse 5 for context. Isaiah 49, verse 5. "And now Yahuwah says, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring who? Yaakov back to him." That's Israel, right? "So that Israel is gathered to him. For I shall be glorious in the eyes of Yahuwah, and my Eluah shall be my strength. Indeed," he says, it is too small a thing that you should be my servant, to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved ones of Israel. I will also give you as what? A light to the nations, that you should be my salvation to the ends of the earth." Let's go to Isaiah 42, verse 6. Isaiah 42, verse 6. "I, Yahuwah, have called you in righteousness, and will hold your hand. I will keep you and give you as a covenant to the people, and as a light to the nations." A light to the Gentiles. That's goyim, y'all. That's the same. That Hebrew word means the nations. It can mean Gentiles. Gentiles just means the nations. "Give you as a light to the nations." That's Isaiah 42, 6. Let's look at Genesis. We can go to Genesis and see that. Let's go to Genesis 37, chapter 37. So, in the story of Joseph, Joseph had a dream, y'all. Remember Joseph's parents. Joseph's daddy is who? Israel, isn't it? It's Jacob was Joseph's daddy. Jacob was Joseph's dad. Just keep that in mind. Joseph was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. He was one of the youngest of the children of Israel, right? All right, keep that in mind when we read Genesis 37:9. Then he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, look, I have dreamed another dream. And this time, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed down to me. Who is he talking about here? Do you know what? His parents knew exactly who he was talking about. Look what his dad said. You don't even have to guess what this dream meant, what the interpretation of this dream was. So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I, your mother the moon, and I, the what? Sun, and your brothers, what? The stars, indeed come to bow down to earth before you? The sun, moon, and stars is Israel. You saw it even in the dream that Yahuwah gave Joseph. That's day 4. All right. So I say all that to say is, where is that in Exodus 4, in the Exodus story? You see it in the children of Israel being brought out, that they are the sun, moon, and stars. Now they are to be a light to the nations. Because when Yahuwah brought Israel out of the captivity of Egypt, the whole world knew them. The whole world knew. The whole world dreaded Israel now. Why? Because they saw that and Egypt was the greatest, most powerful, they had the most powerful, most advanced nation in the known world at this time. So this wasn't something that was just like within Egypt. The whole world knew what the Most High did to Egypt, because Egypt had its foot on the whole world. Egypt didn't just run Egypt. Egypt ran the world. Egypt had its foot all into Canaan, all around the known world. Egypt was literally an empire at this time. The sun, moon, and stars is Israel. The 12 wells of water that we saw in Exodus 15:27. Y'all remember that? Exodus 15:27, where it says, then they came to Elim, and there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. The 12 wells of water probably symbolizes the 12 tribes of Israel, the number 12. Then you got the 70 palm trees. That's the nations. Remember the 70 nations. Usually the number 70 has a connotation to the nations of the world. So you see that associated with the nations right here, of how Israel is to be a light to the nations. Is to water and nourish the nations. All right, y'all. Let's go to day 5. We're getting through this. We're gonna go through day 7 and then we'll go from there. So day 5. Day 5, what we see is this is when fish and the birds were created. Day 5 is when the fish and the birds were created. Let's go to Genesis 1, and we're going to read it in the creation story, verse 20 through 22. Then Yahuwah said, let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of the heavens. So Yahuwah created great sea creatures and every living thing that moves, with which the waters abounded, according to their kind, and every winged bird according to its kind. And Yahuwah saw that it was good. And Yahuwah blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. So he blessed these things too. And he told them to be fruitful and to multiply. And what else did he say? Fill the waters in the seas and let birds multiply on the land. And let the birds multiply on the earth. Where do we see this in the Exodus story? Well, let's look. Let's go to Exodus chapter 16, verse 13. Exodus chapter 16, verse 13. And it says, so it was that quails came up. Isn't that a bird? So it was that quails came up at evening and covered the camp. Wow. So not only did quails come up, but they covered the earth. They covered the camp. They were multiplying abundantly. That's day 5 all day. That's day 5. That's screaming day 5. Let's keep it going. Let's go to day 6. We're going to try to move on through here. So what happened in day 6? Now, day 6 is very interesting. So we saw the birds. Now, in day 6, that's when man and beast was created. Day 6 is interesting because, and it's very different because man and beast was created, but there was something else that happened in day 6 that I think a lot of times it's kind of overlooked, I should say. On day 6, there was a declaration about food. And there were instructions given around food on day 6 as well. That's a big deal. We're going to talk about that. So let's read it. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1. And we're going to read about day 6. That's verse 29 through 30. 29 through 30. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Oh, there's the instructions for food, isn't it? Verse 30. Also, you know what? I skipped a verse, didn't I? Let's go up to, let's go to verse 26 first. Go up to verse 26. Day 6 starts with verse 26. I'm skipping something important. Then Elohim said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. So it was made in the image of Yahuwah. This is a big deal. Remember I told you this is warfare happening in Genesis 1. This is war against the marine kingdom. Against Hasatan in a sense. Look what Yahuwah says that man is going to have, y'all. Shout out to Maury Yahusha, who brought this out last year. Let them have dominion. The Most High created man to have dominion. That's aggressive language. That's warfare language. He didn't create man just to be chilling on the earth. I know we all have this like mindset when we read about when Adam and Eve was created, they were just chilling. It's just like a vacation, right? They just chilling and maxing and relaxing. No, the Most High created man to have dominion. To have dominion over everything. Look. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth. We're supposed to have dominion over all the earth. And over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. We're supposed to have dominion over everything. That's warfare language. Because what the Most High is saying is, marine kingdom, you don't have dominion over the land anymore. I created man to have dominion here now. Y'all get what's happening here? Now do you see why the serpent came through and did what he did? They wanted their dominion back. The serpent came, Hasatan came to get his dominion back. And so when Eve and Adam ate the fruit, they gave up their dominion. The dominion went back to the marine kingdom. Adam and Eve was exiled for breaking the commandment. Doesn't that sound familiar? Adam and Eve was exiled for breaking the commandments, exiled out of their land. Doesn't that sound familiar? just like Israel. Because Israel is the new Adam. In Exodus, Israel is the Adam and Eve. In a sense, y'all just roll with me. Because Israel, Yahuwah brought Israel out of Egypt, not just for fun, but he brought Israel out of Egypt so that they will have dominion over the earth. Israel was created to be a kingdom of kings and priests. Isn't that what it says in Exodus? I think chapter 19. Why did Yahuwah create Israel to be a kingdom of kings and priests? So they'll have dominion over the earth. What is Yahushua coming back to do, y'all? He coming back to chill? Or is he coming back to bring dominion over the earth for Israel? Dominion over the darkness again. There's going to be another great reset happening, and I submit that the process is already in play. The process is already moving forward. I submit it. If not, we're right on the edge of the process moving forward. All right. Look what else it says about mankind, y'all. So Eluah created man in his own image. In the image of Eluah, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Then Eluah blessed them, and Eluah said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Do y'all know that this same thing was said to Israel? To the nation of Israel? See, I'm telling y'all, Israel was the new Adam and Eve, in a sense. This was a commandment given to Israel, to be fruitful and to multiply. I'm gonna make you your descendants as the sand of the sea. I'm gonna make your nations are gonna come out of you. You're gonna be fruitful and multiply. And what else? To do what? Fill the earth and subdue it. This is aggressive warfare language. To fill the earth and subdue it. If the earth was just all good, you wouldn't have to subdue it. You can just be born and just live and chill. And just eat and, No, they had to subdue it. Why? Because something else had control over the earth before Most High made man to have control over the earth. Israel, y'all got to know what y'all place is on the earth. And you got to walk in that. Because we are sons of Eluah. We are sons. Chief Elder Moshe was talking about the revelation he got that we are sons. And he was talking about, and I really want to, hopefully I can get with him on this soon. Because I really believe I know at least an aspect of what was revealed to him, because we are sons. We are sons of Eluah, and the revelation is that who were the sons of Eluah in past times? They were celestial beings, the fallen ones, wasn't they? They were celestial beings. They called them sons of Eluah, or B'nai Elohim, sons of God in English. In Genesis 6, they came and they laid with the daughters of men, right? In Job 1, they were called sons of Eluah, sons of God, the fallen ones. In the book of Enoch, those were the sons of Eluah, but something changed. The Most High created Israel to be the sons of Eluah. He made a change. He made a difference. He made a distinction. He made a shift. In Deuteronomy 38, verse 2, in Deuteronomy 32, verse 8, Shimriat I was talking about this. And I was talking about this with another ark too. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. If you have like a King James, this is what it's going to say, something similar to this. I'm using a New King James, so it's similar but not verbatim as a King James. It says, when the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. That's Deuteronomy 32:8. It says that the boundaries were divided according to the number of the children of Israel. But if you look at the Septuagint, which is an older copy, an older manuscript, I should say. The Septuagint doesn't say that they were divided according to the number of the children of Israel. It says that they were divided according, I think, to the number of the sons of God, or the B'nai Elohim, the sons of Elohim. So a lot of people get kind of mixed up by that, like, okay, well, which one is right? Could it be that both are right? Is it possible that they actually both are saying the same thing? Because the children of Israel are the sons now. It is us who has the dominion now. Oh, that's where things are moving. We don't have it now, not today. Yahuwah has given us a level of authority, though, that a lot of us don't realize, even today. We came to take the place of the Elohim on this earth, of the other Elohim on the earth that people worship day by day. Most High's coming to subdue them, and giving all that authority to who? His children, his sons. All right. Let's stay with it. Let's stay with it. So with all that being said, mankind was created. Mankind was created to have dominion, to subdue the earth. Battle lines are being drawn. This is warfare. And so then you read, okay, now we're in verse 27 and 28. Now we're in verse 29 and 30. The creation story, verse 29 and 30. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed. This is still day 6, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth in which there is life. I have given every green herb for food. We also see in day 6 that instructions surrounding food are given here. He's giving them food here. That's what he's doing. He says, see, let's read it again. He says, see, I have given you food. I have given you every herb that yields seed, etc., etc. He's giving them food here in day 6. That's another aspect of day 6 that I believe is overlooked many times. So now we're going to look at the Exodus story, and we're going to see if we can find those aspects, all right? So, again, we see beast and man was made on day 6, but we also see a declaration of food. He's giving them food on day 6 as well in the creation story. All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 16, and we're going to go to verse 15 through 22. We're going to read a little bit, a few verses. Exodus chapter 16, verse 15, and we're going to read through verse 22. All right. So when the children of Israel saw it, I'm going to go ahead so y'all know the context. This is the manna, y'all. This is the chapter surrounding when the Most High gave them manna. Okay? So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, what is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moshe said to them, this is the bread which Yahuwah has given you to eat. Man, now we see here that the Most High is giving them something to eat, just like in the 6th day in Genesis 1. This is the thing which Yahuwah has commanded. Let every man gather it according to each one's need. 1 omer for each person according to the number of persons. Let every man take for those who are in his tent. Then the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. So now he's giving them instructions on food, just like he did in day 6 in Genesis chapter 1. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. Every man had gathered according to each one's need. And Moshe said, let no one leave any until Boker. Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moshe, but some of them left part of it until Boker, and it bred worms and stank. And Moshe was angry with them. So they gathered it every Boker, every man according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. And so it was when? On the 6th day. There you go right there. It's giving you the hint already right here. On the sixth day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moshe. So there you go. You have the instructions for food given in Exodus 16, verse 15 through 22. So you see aspects of day 6 in the Exodus story, just like in the creation story. I'm gonna give y'all another aspect of this. So, because remember in the Genesis story, there was a lot of focus on, I give you every herb with yielding seed. I give you every, tree bearing seed for food to eat and things like that. So seed was very emphasized in the creation story when it came to the instructions surrounding food. Let's shout out to Mikael Lane, my aunt, who actually brought this out when we covered this on Shabbat. Y'all look at this in verse. I think it's verse 32. Let's see. Verse 31. Look at this, y'all. Look what they said about the manna, y'all. This is when they get into some of the attributes of the manna. And the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like white coriander seed. Y'all see this, y'all? And it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Now, let me reiterate. We'll go back to Genesis 1. Look here. And Elohim said, see, and this is verse 29. And Elohim said, see, I have given you every herb that yields seed to eat. I've given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. All right. So I think y'all got it. Now we're going to go to Shabbat, y'all. We're going to go to Shabbat. Let's go to Shabbat. Let's see here. Now, where do we see the Shabbat in the Exodus story? I know y'all know all of y'all are probably already know. I know a lot of y'all are probably like, yeah, we know this one. Where do we see the Shabbat in the Exodus story? And I'm talking about this particular Torah portion, though. Remember, I'm talking about Torah portion BESHALACH, Exodus 13 through 17. So we can't skip to the 10 Commandments. See, now it's right there, Exodus 20. No, I'm talking about in this Torah portion. So let's look at it. Exodus chapter 16, Exodus chapter 16, verse 25, and we're going to read through 26. This is right after what we just read. Remember, we ended at verse 22 regarding the 6th day. So now we're just going a couple of verses down to verse 25. It says, then Moshe said, eat that today, for today is a Shabbat, is a Sabbath to Yahuwah. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, the Sabbath, there will be none. I mean, there you go right there. We didn't even, I forgot to put it up in the creation story. Hold on. Let's go to the creation story. This chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth, and all the host of them were finished. And on the 7th day, Elohim ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had done. Then Elohim blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, he kadoshed it, because in it he rested from all his work which Elohim had created and made. Exodus chapter 16, verse 25. He says, Moshe said, eat that today, for today is a Shabbat to Yahuwah. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather, but on the 7th day, the Shabbat, there will be none. So think about how deep this is. Because they tell you the time that this happened, around the time. If you go to verse 1 in chapter 16, it says, and they journeyed from Elim. Remember, Elim was where the trees were there, the palm trees. They journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, when? On the 15th day of the 2nd month. So this is giving you a timeline. on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt. Because remember, the day they departed from Egypt, Yahuwah told them, this is the beginning of the months for you. That was the first day of the first month. I'm sorry, that was the first month, not the first day of the first month. We know when they left. They left on Pesach. We know that. They left Egypt on Pesach. So they left Egypt on that night, the 14th day of the first month. Let me correct that. The 14th day of the first month is when they left Egypt. We all know that. That's why we celebrate Pesach, right? Because it's when the Israelites left, the Most High delivered them out of Egypt. So this is telling you that now it is the 15th day of the second month. So this is a month later, and they didn't keep they didn't keep Shabbat yet. A month later, the Most High still didn't give them Shabbat yet until over a month later. He gave them the month as soon as they came out. He gave them a calendar. He told them this is the first month for you, the month of Abib. But he did not teach them Shabbat until now. Why did he wait? Because I submit that the creation week had to play itself out first. That's one aspect of it. And this is also showing that the Shabbat is totally distinct and separate from the month, from the moon. It's totally distinct and separate. They work together, but they're distinct from each other. He didn't even give the Shabbat till a month later after he gave them the month, the moon cycle. But that's a whole nother thing too. So all right, so we're going to go into this last part, because as I mentioned earlier, I alluded to this earlier, and then I'm going to open it up for any questions or thoughts or comments in the chat. Y'all can start bringing them out now if y'all want to. We almost done. But this Exodus was really the third reset in the Torah. The second reset happened in the flood story. In the flood story, yes. In the flood story, the creation week played out here too. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. A matter of fact, somebody actually gave away a little bit of it. Who? Hold on, let me see who that did there. Yeah, Cadmiel already caught it a little bit. Yeah, day one. The dove was also sent out from the ark, wasn't it? Let's go there. So let's look. So what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna go through this Noah in depth, but we're gonna look at some things real quick, okay? Because the Noah story is something many of us know very well, because most of us came from the church background. So many of us know about the flood story, because this stuff we was talking, man. If you were in the church, they taught you this in Sunday school, the Noah story, right? And they may not have taught you it 100% accurate, but you at least have a general idea of what happened, right? So let's take a look at this. In Genesis chapter 6, the earth was very evil, right? The earth was very wicked. It was so wicked that I submit that it was what? Tohu wabohu. It was in chaos and without order. Because the Most High established order with Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve did something. They gave up their dominion when they ate the fruit, when they gave in to the serpent, which gave dominion back over to the marine kingdom. If there's anybody out here who's not familiar with the marine kingdom, there's a teaching that Mori Yahusha did that's really good. So that goes into that in depth. But it's basically the kingdom of darkness is the kingdom of Hasatan. That's the kingdom that's ruling everything right now, the marine kingdom. The marine kingdom has dominion over the earth right now, y'all. That's why they call Hasatan the ruler of this land, the prince of the air. That's what they call him, the prince of the air. Every major kingdom, every major empire on this earth was in full covenant with the marine kingdom. That's why they were able to get to that point. Most people that you see in power today is in full covenant with the marine kingdom, y'all. That's how this stuff ain't no joke. So the Noah story. Okay, we're gonna end it with the Noah story. The world was in chaos and confusion. And the Most High was like, I'm done with this. So he made a separation, right? He separated light from darkness because he chose Noah and his family. He said, well, but the scriptures say, but Noah, the world was wicked, but Noah wasn't. Noah was righteous, pure in his generations. He was Tamim, right? So the Most High made a distinction was made here. Then what did he do? He said, I'm going to cause a flood to flood the earth, didn't he? And what happened? So didn't Yahuwah cause the earth to be covered with water? Isn't that what happened in Genesis 1? Remember I said when it was Tohu Vabohu, wasn't the earth covered with water? There was no land at that time. The same thing happened again in the Noah story. Yahuwah did a reset. Yahuwah did a reset. He caused the earth to be covered by water again. And how did he do it? Well, when you read in chapter 8 or 9, I believe, he caused water to come from below and above. He caused water to come from below and from the skies. So what did he do? He basically closed up the firmament that he used to divide the waters from the waters. He basically let the waters come from he closed up the firmament, basically. The Most High almost closed up the whole firmament, y'all. Listen to how deep this is, y'all. The Most High, how did the Most High destroy the Egyptians? So the Most High divided the waters from the waters by causing the firmament to come in the middle. Remember, I was trying to emphasize that point earlier in the creation story. He divided the waters by using the firmament to divide the waters from the waters above from the waters below. In the Egypt story, in the Exodus story, he divided the waters from the waters by using his ruah, air, and dry land. He had dry land and air, his wind, to divide the waters from the waters. And what did he do? He closed in that on the Egyptians to kill them. So he basically caused the flood to kill the Egyptians, just like he did all the wicked people, everybody that was wicked during the days of Noah. He closed in the atmosphere again, just like he did on the Egyptians. He closed in the water on everybody, just like he did on the Egyptians. All right, now y'all roll with me. So now the earth is covered with water. This is all day one stuff. Now we're going to go to chapter 8, and now we'll do some comparisons. Genesis chapter 8. We'll start with verse 1. So now the flood, now the Most High flooded the earth. The earth is covered with water. Then Elohim remembered Noah and every living thing and all the animals that were with him in the ark. And Elohim made a wind to pass over the earth, and the water subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped. There you go. So you have, see, this wasn't just like a whole lot of rain. No, the Most High closed up the atmosphere. He closed up the firmament. Thank you. He closed up the firmament. The fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained, and the waters receded continually from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, the waters decreased. Then the ark rested in the 7th month, the 7th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. Okay. So it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the windows of the ark which he had made. Then he sent out a raven. So the raven, that's darkness, ain't it? So now you had darkness over the face of the deep, didn't you? Because he sent out he sent out a raven where? He sent out a raven to go fly over the waters, to hover over the waters, just like Genesis 1, darkness over the face of the deep. The raven kept going to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. So the raven didn't come back. It was just darkness over the waters. And then he also sent out from himself a dove. Now, just like I believe that was Cadmiel alluded to, the dove is symbolic of the Ruach HaKodesh. Then he sent out a dove to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground. Now, remember Genesis 1. Now we're looking at verse 8. We also sent out a dove to see if the waters had receded from the ground. Genesis 1. In the beginning, the Lord created heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep. Darkness over the waters. That was the raven. And the spirit of Elua, that's the dove, was doing what? Hovering over the face of the waters. When you look at that Hebrew word hovering, it has the connotation of a bird flapping wings, y'all. Remember I said that earlier. All right, going back to chapter 8. So he sent out a dove in verse 8 to see if the waters had receded from the face of the ground, but the dove found no resting place for the sole of her foot. And she returned into the ark to him, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. So it's like remember the dove symbolizes the Ruach HaKodesh. There's no question on that. You can see that. You can see that you can see that in the scriptures. Then it says, so he put out his hand and took her and drew her into the ark to himself. Day 1, the Ruach of Elua hovered over the waters. And he waited yet another 7 days, and again he sent the dove out from the ark. Then the dove came to him in the evening, and beheld, a freshly plucked olive leaf was in her mouth. And Noah knew that the waters had receded from the earth. So what we see is the waters have receded from the earth. So when the waters have receded from the earth, let's look what happened. Verse 12. So he waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove. And I believe the reason why it was 7 days is because that's giving you a hint that we're seeing the 7-day creation week being played out again here. This is a hint, I submit. So he waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove, which did not return again to him anymore. Why didn't he return to him? Because dry land appeared. Dry land appeared. So that means that's day 3. So the waters were separated from the waters. That's day 2. The waters were separated. He blew the air. He blew over the waters. Then we see what the Ruach hovered over the water and came back with what? An olive leaf. That's day 3, right? Day 3 was when vegetation came out. It was day 3, and the waters receded from the earth. And now we're going to keep going because we're going to still see this. Because it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth. And Noah removed the covering from the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. So you still see day 3 keeps playing out, because in day 3 the waters were gathered with the waters, and the waters were gathered with the waters, and dry land appeared. So day 2, let me hold on. I was mixing it up too much. So really day 2 was just the division. That's just the only thing that happened in day 2 was the dividing of the waters in the creation week. That's when Yahuwah divided the waters above from the waters below using the what? The firmament. So that happened when in verse 2. Yeah, here it goes. It happened here. When the fountains of the deep and the windows of heaven were also stopped, and the rain from heaven was restrained. Because in a sense, Yahuwah separated the waters above from the waters below again. so that there's actually a full firmament again. Because after this, he made a covenant that he wasn't going to flood the earth with water anymore. So you actually don't see water coming from below and above like that anymore. You don't see that. And I submit it was because of the covenant that Yahuwah made with Noah. He said he wouldn't flood the earth like that no more. The only time you see floods now is when it's just a lot of rain for the most part. When it's a whole lot of rain for a long time, you'll see some floods locally and things like that. But this was not just a lot of rain. I can't emphasize that more. Now, this was on some whole other stuff. All right. So we see day 1 through 3 here. Let's keep reading. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the first month, the first day of the month, that the waters were dried up from the earth, and Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and indeed the surface of the ground was dry. That's day 3, dry lands appearing in a place where water used to be. And in the second month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then the Lord spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons. Okay, now you see the sun, moon, and stars. Because see, it's Noah and his sons that are to be the light to the nations. Just like the children of Israel were to be the light to the nations. You see what I'm saying? So when they went out of the ark, now they're going out to be the nations. Why? They're supposed to be fruitful, to multiply, and have dominion over the earth. They're like Adam and Eve all over again, because this is a great reset, as I was mentioning earlier. This is another great reset. This is another creation story happening again. Verse 18, so Noah went out, and his son and his wife and his sons' wives went with him. Every animal. Now we're looking at aspects of day 5 and 6, aren't we? Because we're seeing the animals, every creeping thing, every bird, that's a day 5 animal. And whatever creeps on the earth according to their families went out of the ark. Then Noah built an altar to Yahuwah and took every clean animal of every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Yahuwah smelled a soothing aroma. Then Yahuwah said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth, nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done, while the earth remains, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. Okay, so that's pretty interesting, because that's giving you another aspect of day 4 right here. Because remember, the sun, moon, and stars were created what? For days, seasons, etc. So this is actually giving you some more day 4 here. Seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, etc. Those are seasons. So that's deep. I just caught that. I didn't notice that before. Now we're going to verse 9, and we'll close after this. I'm just going to kind of skim through it, because I think y'all get the picture. So Yahuwah blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, what? Be fruitful and multiply. It's the same thing he told Adam and Eve, right? So you see, this is a great reset happening again. This is an Adam and Eve story happening all over again. And fill the earth. So Noah and his sons. Now, before the flood happened, darkness, the marine kingdom, had dominion over the earth. According to Genesis 6, they were called the sons of Alua, the sons of God, the fallen, they call them like fallen Malachim or Nephilim. They had dominion over the earth. Darkness had dominion over the earth. The Most High killed all of them with the flood. And then he gave all that dominion to Noah and his family, y'all. He preserved Noah and his family, and then he said, now I want you all to be fruitful and multiply and to fill the earth. That's what he said. But look what he says here. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth. Now, do y'all know that the beast of the earth also is symbolic of the other nations? That's symbolic of the Gentiles as well. That's a term used for the Gentiles, the beast of the earth, the animals of the field, the beast of the earth. Do you know that after the Most High took Israel out of Egypt, that Yahuwah put the dread on all the nations around them? There was a dread. They feared Israel. All you got to do is read the Balaam and Balak story. That gives you a little tidbit of how much the nations feared Israel because of what they did to Egypt, because of what Yahuwah did to Egypt. So the same thing is here. So the Most High says this is a similar sentiment with Noah and his children. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be on every beast of the earth and on every bird of the air and all that move on the earth and all of the fish of the sea. Listen what it says. They are given into your hand. That is warfare language. That is not passive language here. They're not supposed to just be chilling. You're supposed to have dominion over the earth again. I have given dominion back to you. You are made in my image. You are supposed to be actually Elohim on the earth. You are supposed to move as sons. You're supposed to really know what that means, to move as sons. Y'all, we are sons. Sons of Elul. They are created to have dominion, to be a kingdom of kings and priests on the earth. We have to really understand that. That's why in Yahusha, we have the authority to do the things that we do, proclaim a thing and it comes to pass. Cast out unclean ruach code, etc. All right. Now, so what we see here is basically we went through day 5. We saw the animals. And this is definitely a day 6, because this is what happened in day 6 when man was created, and then he told man to be fruitful and multiply in the Genesis 1 story. That was in day 6. So we see that here. Do y'all remember what else happened in day 6? Do y'all remember that also on day 6, in the creation story in Genesis 1, there was the what? The food that was given, right? You remember in day 6, food was given. There were instructions surrounding food that was given to them, that was given to Adam and Eve. Let's see what happens here, and because this is day 6. Knowing the sons come out, and he said, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and have dominion over the earth, just like he said in Adam and Eve on day 6. Let's keep reading. Verse 3, every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. Same thing. Same thing, y'all. This is screaming day 6. This is a great reset happening here. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs. Instruction surrounding food is here too. Just like the manna, just like in Genesis 1. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is the blood. That's day 6 altogether. And so then it goes into some more things. It goes into some laws and stuff like that. And what we're going to do, we're going to skip into day 7, okay? We're going to skip to day 7. So day 7 is the Shabbat. So where do we see the Shabbat in the Noah story? Where do we see the Shabbat in the Noah story? Where do we see the Shabbat in the Noah story? Let's take a look. So you go down to verse 9. It says, as for me, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your descendants after you. What? So that means that he's establishing an everlasting covenant with him, isn't he? Isn't that what the Shabbat is? Isn't the Shabbat an everlasting covenant? Ain't that what the scriptures say? Let's look. Exodus 31. We read this every Shabbat. Let's start with verse 14. Let's start with verse 15. No, verse 16. Therefore, the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath to observe the Sabbath. When? Throughout their generations, as a perpetual covenant. That means it's an everlasting covenant, y'all. Look what else it says too about the Shabbat. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. All right, now let's go back to the Noah story. Do we see anything similar to that around this covenant? Thus I establish my covenant with you. Never again shall I cut off the waters of flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And Elua said, this is the sign of the covenant. Isn't that what it just said about the Shabbat? That it is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever? Well, it's the same thing with this covenant. This is the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for how long? For a little bit? Forever. Perpetual generations. It's an everlasting covenant. I'm going to leave it at that, y'all. I'm going to leave it at that. That's case closed. So I want to end this, and if y'all have any questions, I'm going to open up the floor. But I want to end this by saying this, y'all. This is going to happen again. This is going to happen again. All you have to do is read Revelation. Read the book of Revelation. Yahuwah's about, actually, I believe very soon Yahuwah is about to do another reset. Because right now, darkness controls the world. The world is wicked right now. The world is without form and void. The world is in chaos. There's wars and rumors of wars. There's people dying every day. There's plagues. The list goes on and on. And Yahuwah is making a distinction right now where he is separating the light from the darkness. And the darkness is going to be destroyed. Yahuwah is going to war against the Elohim of this earth. He's going to war against the marine kingdom, y'all. To bring Israel back in its rightful place. To have dominion over the earth and to subdue it. And to subdue it. It's happening again. Yahuwah declares the end from the beginning. He is making a new heaven and a new earth. So it's important and it's imperative that you be light. Because if you're not light, you're going to be separated to the darkness. Repent and serve Yahuwah. Repent and keep the commandments in Yahusha. Consecrate yourselves. Be holy. Repent. Listen. Connect yourself to an assembly. Connect yourself to an assembly. If it's impossible for you to do that where you live, pray about moving. Pray about moving. It's that serious right now. It's that serious. Because Yahuwah's making a distinction between light and darkness. He's separating the light from the darkness, y'all. What did Yahusha say he came to do? He said, I came not to bring peace, but a sword. He came to divide. He came to bring a division, to divide light from darkness. Yahuwah is making a distinction between light and darkness. And he's going to destroy everything. He's going to destroy, and a lot of people are going to perish. It's going to be just like the story of Egypt. It's going to be just like what happened in the beginning of the creation story. So that the right people will have dominion over the earth again. Y'all, if you don't live close to any set apart assembly, pray to the Most High about that. Many people will move across the country, will move out of the country to connect them to just for a job. Many people will move out of the country for a job. You wouldn't move to connect yourself with a set apart assembly of Yahuwah in these last days, or what's coming? All praises to Yahuwah, Elu of Israel. All praise to the Most High. Much Yahabah. Much Yahabah. Shalom, shalom. What do y'all got? What do y'all got? Any questions, any thoughts? Bring it out in the chat, y'all. What do y'all have? Any thoughts, any comments, any questions? The floor is open. Let's see what I got here. So, Cadmiel said, what is done in heaven is done on earth. The reason to see always matches the sky. Con. Oh, man, that's you be bringing it out, Cadmiel. You be bringing it out. That's a great point. Yahuwah was creating order. Con. David Dove said, ramifications. Man. Giving all esteem to Yahushua HaMashiach said, when we receive Mashiach, our atonement, we get sanctified. Receive the Ruach of Abba, become a son in Abba's bosom. Hallelujah. Man, that's told. You right on it. So we're the sons now. Those are who are in Yahushua. Oh, okay. You correcting typo. Let me read it again. Let me read the other part. Then we become like Yahushua by walking in Ruach and truth, conforming into our eternal spirit, and is now be able to walk as Elohim, representing Abba Yah. What? Is that the revelation? Yes. Yeah, that's the revelation. That is the revelation. That we replaced the celestial beings that were Elohim. They were that we replaced them, the fallen ones, and so we're the ones that have dominion now. So Enoch alludes that actually unclean ruachs, unclean spirits, are actually the spirits of those of the fallen ones when they laid with the daughters of men in Genesis 6. If y'all not familiar with that, just read Genesis 6. It's a very good read. It's very, very important to understand that. Just read Genesis 6 if you don't know what I'm referring to. Because this is what led to the flood story. But the fallen ones, they were called sons of Alua, laid with the daughters of men, and there were children that came from that. The flood killed them. Their ruachs are the unclean ruach cult that plague our people today. People moving with a spirit of fear. People moving with a spirit of depression. People moving with a spirit of unforgiveness, etc., etc. The list goes on. Those are the spirits of those the children that came from those unions. Why do you think we be having full authority over them when we come before people who are plagued by those spirits who've been repentant, and we proclaim a thing and them things flee? Y'all think it's you? No, the authority the Most High has given us. Yahushua has given us that authority because we're the ones that have dominion over this earth now. He's given us the dominion back that we're supposed to rightfully be ours since the days of Adam. And ain't no telling. It probably supposed to be even before that. Ain't no telling though. All right. Giving all esteem to Yahushua HaMashiach said More while speaking on beasts, where cockatrices walking around. Like, was it literal and ruachal? They are not regular viper. They are mentioned in Isaiah 59, 3-6. So I'm not sure on that. I know the King James called it a cockatrice, but some other versions call it something else. And I never studied that out in depth as far as, the nuances around what that really is. But that can very well, you're right, that's a good point. That can very well be something that ain't even really around like that anymore. There were beings around back then that just not around anymore. Dinosaurs were around back then. They were. We used to believe that, because the schools taught us that dinosaurs were around millions of years ago, and it wasn't until after they died off then mankind came and lived on the earth. Nah, we lived hand in hand with dinosaurs for years. We just killed them off. Mankind just killed them off. But all you got to do is look in Babylonian art, look in Egyptian artwork, in Egyptian text. Man, they had dinosaurs all in their art, all in their literature. I mean, please. We just didn't call them dinosaurs. That's a new word. That's an English term that came in the 18 something. The 1611 King James is older than when the word dinosaur came out. No, they were called stuff like dragons. That's all over the scriptures, ain't it? I remember when I was growing up, children used to always ask that, where are dinosaurs in the Bible? They in the Bible? What do you think the dragons are? Big old lizard. Big old huge lizard. Them things was in the Bible. If y'all ever read the any of the apocryphal books, I can't even think of the Susanna. Oh, I can't remember the name of it's an addition to the book of Daniel. So in addition to the book of Daniel, where man, there's a full dragon that Daniel was dealing with in that book. But nevertheless, the point is that but no, I mean generally I don't know about the cockatrice aspect. That's a good question though. Definitely worth looking into. All right, y'all. Any other questions, y'all? The floor is open. Bring it out in the chat before I close with close it off with prayer. This is your opportunity. I'm gonna give it a few more seconds. All right, y'all. Well, much hava, shalom, shalom, ladato, and most high willing, we'll move forward from there. Giving all esteem to Yahusha, let me give you my email. I'm gonna post it in here. Send me an email, and we'll go from there. Let's see here. It's info@rebirthatx.org. Hopefully, I didn't put no typos in there. But yeah, send me an email, and we'll go from there on that. Love y'all. Shalom, shalom, y'all. Yahuwah, I want to thank you so much, O Most High, for this word and for revealing this. Torah Rabbah, so much, Yahuwah, for revealing the secret things to your people, revealing the oracles, revealing the hidden things of your word to your children. Yahuwah, I love you, I cherish you, I thank you, for you are in control, you are sovereign, and you rule and you reign. Yahuwah, I pray right now, O Most High, if there's anyone, O Most High, who you have tugged on them to move so that they'll be connected with one of your set apart assemblies. I pray, Adonai Yahusha, that you drive them to move in obedience, O Most High, like Abraham did. Yahuwah, I pray, O Most High, that you continue to bless us to move and to be a light to the nations. That you bless us to be a light to the nations, O Yahuwah, for you're making a distinction and separating the light from the darkness. Yahuwah, I pray, O Most High, that you baruch everyone with a good night tonight and a wonderful rest of this week. We thank you, we honor you, we praise you, we give you all glory, esteem, and honor. We pray for these things by Shem Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah, hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah. All right, y'all. Ladato. Shalom, shalom.